and welcome everyone. We are so excited to have Thomas back for NCL week, and he has a special guest that he's going to introduce. So let's get to it, Thomas. Who do you have here for us today?
All the way up to Whittier, Alaska, into South Central Alaska on the Norwegian ships, and not try to come in and try to see the largest mountain in North America. It also helps the guests to experience Alaska. They get to meet a lot more Alaskans, see a lot more of the vast wilderness that we love in interior and South Central. But we also it also adds a lot of little financial rewards for you, right? When you are, oops, I'm going backwards in my presentation here, but it also includes a lot of, sorry about that, little glitch, financial rewards for our agents too, right? So Alaska is really big, and I'm going to talk to you today about the cruise tours that we offer on the Norwegian Jade and on the Bliss and the Encore. So I always train in a southbound sailing, which means that the guests are going to come to Alaska. They're going to fly into the correct city. We're going to do a land tour with them. We're going to take them to the ship, and they're going to sail south to Vancouver. But the beautiful part about the Norwegian Jade cruise tours is that they all are either pre or post, and they are a mirror image. So I encourage you to just sit back and kind of have a little bit of a listen here. And usually by the end of it, we'll answer most of the questions that you might have. We have 10 ways that we can send guests through Alaska on the cruise tour programs. They're all fully escorted. That means the driver and the tour director stays with the guests the entire time they're on the land tour with us, which is really nice. Now, if you have a moment to go to the marketing headquarters and grab your digital copy of the 2025, right now, the 2025 out, 2026, not quite yet, for the cruise tours, What's really cool is everything I'm going to talk about today is in that book for you. Also, Thomas has given you guys the 2026. You have a sneak preview of 2026 on that cheat sheet that you see there, all those colors. And I love that cheat sheet. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about why it was created and what some of the most important things to know about that. So hopefully you'll have that in your inbox here soon. Norwegian Cruise Tour products, we have three different classes of service, basically. Really two, but the first one is the express tours. They are designed for the low price leaders. These are 4-day, 3-night programs. They are lower class of train car. They're a little bit lower class of hotel accommodations. But when you pair this with the right guest who only has a few days, they're a great tour. But where we really shine is if your guest can give us at least one more day and get onto any of our Explorer tours. These just have more inclusions, nicer hotels. They have the deluxe dome rail, which we'll talk about in a few minutes as well. They have an included kennel tour, which everybody wants to hold puppies when they're in Alaska. We've already included that. So what our Explorer tours do for our guests is it makes it to where things are just already ready for them. They're already timed out. They don't have to keep reaching in their wallet to keep adding to, well, I'd like to go and do this now or that. We've included all the top ideas and top great tours in every destination that they go to. So it's all inclusive, pretty much. The Norwegian exclusive tours that I like to talk about are the 14-day tours. This is 7 on land and 7 on sea. And I know what you're thinking, man, that's a long time. Nobody has that amount of time, but they are the second thing to sell out each year. So do not hesitate to ask your guests if they've got some extra time. Those Norwegian tours that go to the ends of our road systems are really a very popular option for getting guests out there on the roads less traveled. At the very end, I'm going to talk about the Bliss and Encore because we do offer a cruise tour program for them, but it's formatted just slightly different because, of course, those ships do round trip Seattle. So what do all the cruise tours have in common? I've already mentioned on it. They're entirely escorted. The tour director and the driver are with the guests the entire time. That means the guests don't have to worry about where's my voucher? What time does that leave? They're just going to listen to their tour director. They're going to give them that information. And everybody is a lot more relaxed when you don't have to worry so much about keeping track of every detail. Our motor coaches are the newest fleet of motor coaches in Alaska. We're very proud of that. They are all beautifully kept up. They all have video monitors, washrooms in the back. One thing that I like to remind you of here is your guests can bring anything that they need, walkers, CPAP machines, things like that. We will have that with us on the motor coach on those luggage bays below. But I do need to know, can your guests walk up those 5 steps? If they can make it up the 5 steps, everything is good. If they need a wheelchair lift, that must get in the notes section so we know to schedule the right equipment for when we pick them up on day 1 of the tour. We don't want there to be any mishaps. Our ADA, all of our tours are ADA accessible. There's not a problem with that. We just need to make sure that we know that if your guests need the wheelchair lift, that we get that noted well in advance of them arriving. All right. So on our JADE programs, we are all going to stop off at the Alaska Wildlife Conservation Center, which is a great opportunity for the guests to see those large animals of Alaska in a safe environment. It's a drive-through park. We have the black bears and grizzly bears. We get to see moose. We get to see wood bison, all those animals, and people can get great pictures. And we love having that opportunity for all of our JADE guests to be able to do that. Airport transfers for Norwegian Cruise Line guests on cruise tours are no longer included from the airport to the hotel or hotel back to the airport on cruise tours. Now, they can be purchased through Norwegian Cruise Line. I encourage you to look into that for your guests. It is a great way to have our passengers taken care of from the moment they arrive. If guests don't pre-purchase their transfers with us directly, then they can do an Uber or a taxi to get them to their hotels. Now, that being said, when will they get their hotel assignments? I'm glad you asked. That is all through the e-documents. So they must do the online process of checking in to get their e-documents to download so they can see their full itinerary. So please make sure that if you have guests out there that are booked, that they know that they have to download, they have to go in and do the online check-in. Now, the cool thing about any of the cruise tour guests is that they do not need to worry about selecting a time in Alaska when they're going to check in or when they're going to arrive. We have that all timed out within the tour itinerary, but they do still have to check in. That way they can download the e-documents. All right. Now we are going to talk a little bit about our tours. So out of those 10 tours, the vast majority of them start in Fairbanks, Alaska. Fairbanks, Alaska is our second largest city in Alaska. It is 350 miles from Anchorage. And it's really important that when we are traveling, when we are booking travel with our guests, for our guests, or maybe they're going to use points and they're going to call you back and give you their flight information. It's really important that you find out and you make sure by name of tour that you know where they're supposed to be flying into or out of. Because unfortunately, we do have people that misunderstand and they'll fly into the wrong airport, and that's a big old pain, and we don't want that. Hence the inception of the Norwegian cruise tour cheat sheet. Now, there's all kinds of X's in here. I've modified this over the years. We now have each of the tours shows the train segments that they would be on, depending on the tour. You also see down at the bottom that there's city abbreviation codes, so that way you know what I'm talking about when I say TAL, for example, it's Talkeetna. But the most important thing to me is the purple line at the mid upper third and at the bottom third there where the red arrows are pointing. That is because this shows you exactly what airport the guests are supposed to be flying into or out of for every departure that is listed. So you go up at the top, you find the name of the tour, and you drop down, and you've got everything right there at your fingertips. So this I find to be really handy. Please make sure that you try to keep it with you so that way we don't have any mishaps with our guests. Our express tours, remember I told you those are our shorter tours. They're our low price leaders. These guests, the main difference in their touring is that they will have a little bit lower accommodation hotels, so more like a motel type maybe than a hotel. Remember in Alaska, all of our hotels are clean, adequate, and wonderful. They're just not 4 or 5 star. We do not have a Ritz-Carlton. If you want a Ritz, I can get you a cracker. I can't get you that kind of accommodation in Alaska. But for the express programs, one of the main distinctions is the train. So as you see here, this is the Alaska Railroad. Those blue and gold cars are the Alaska Railroad Adventure Class cars. And on our express tours, those are the cars that the guests are guaranteed service with. So that means that if your guests are looking for that upper level 2-dome experience on the Wilderness Express, those deluxe dome rail cars, they need to book an Explorer tour or one of our longer tours. That way they are guaranteed that. If they are on an express tour, they are guaranteed to be on the Alaska Railroad Adventure Class cars, which are lovely. They're more historic cars, big picture windows, forward-facing seats. The guests have the opportunity to meet the conductor. If anyone was watching the Today Show a few weeks ago on June 21st when they were here, even Al Roker got to meet Vern here, one of the conductors on the train. So it's an exciting thing to be on the Alaska Railroad Adventure Class cars for sure. If they would like something to eat, remember no meals are included on our tours. Guests have the opportunity to purchase what they would like, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. But on the Adventure Class cars, it's more of a grab and go type of situation. All right, now we're going to talk about the Explorer programs. The Explorer programs have just a little bit more included. They have the upgraded hotels. There's more fun things. We include a dog mushing, or not a dog mushing, but a dog kennel tour on every one of our tours. We have relaxed travel days. And remember that this is available for the Jade and Bliss and Encore sailings as well. We also have the Denali Park Tour is included on both of our Explorer and our Express programs. But for Explorer, we have now those deluxe dome rail cars, which is what you see there with the Wilderness Express, the 2 big white cars at the end. Huge picture windows. Everybody sits upstairs, 360-degree views. We have beautiful native art. We have a commentator that does tour commentary as we're going through the rail belt. We also have for purchase, of course, fine dining below. Guests have an opportunity to try local libations as well as sample some of our local seafood and reindeer sausage. while they are on the train. Again, those meals are for purchase, but they are down there on those 5 windows down below. So it's just a really nice experience. This is what makes us very competitive with all the other brands out there that maybe own their own train cars, that you might already be familiar with. So if your guests are looking for that Wilderness Express Deluxe Dome experience, they need to be on one of our Explorer class tours. Now, going into Denali National Park, the whole reason that we go there is to try to see Denali, the mountain. She's 20,310 feet tall, so large, she makes her own weather. And the hope is that when guests get here, they're going to see the mountain in some form or fashion. We're always looking for it. You can see it from Anchorage. It's about 200 miles away. We can see it from Denali. We get about 70 miles on a park tour away from the mountain. And we're hoping that we're going to also see animals and some beautiful wilderness. What I like to remind people is that everybody goes into the Denali National Park on a Park Service bus, like you see here on the screen. They are driven by professional narrators through the Park Service. So everyone gets to see and learn and hear about the Denali National Park while they're out there on the park tour. We include the Denali Natural History Tour on all of our tours. This is a 4.5 to 5 hour tour that goes into the park. There are 2 opportunities to see the mountain, and it goes about 17 miles into the park. It's a great way for guests to have the opportunity to go into the park, but also have some time on the front side of the park to be able to do optional activities. Now, this is something that's a little different than when we're just booking cruise only passengers and they need to book those optional, the ShoreX months and months in advance. Optional tours are booked with the tour director when the guests are here in Alaska. And that is because we do not get the timing for the national park tour, the Denali National Park tour, until 24 hours prior to the guest's arrival into Denali. So we can't have guests trying to book their own experiences because sure enough, they will get double booked in something and be all stressed out. And the whole idea of being on a cruise tour is that you have a tour director that is like your 24-hour concierge, and they're taking care of all of that timing for you. So you just sit back and enjoy the journey. All right. One thing in that book that you can download, you'll see some optional activities. These are just a sampling of what the guests will see, but just in case you'd like to see those, I do like to just remind you that on all of our cruise tour products, everything is timed out, including the transfer to or from the ship. So no cruise train option is available for cruise tour guests. They've already had a train experience anyways, because every one of our tours includes a train experience. All of our Explorer tours in 25 now and 26 are making a stop at the Denali Discovery Center, where they will get a presentation and an opportunity to be able to walk through some of the pristine area here in the Denali Park area. It's awesome. This is a great opportunity. Sometimes this is the first time guests have had the chance to just kind of sit back, stand outside and listen to the wilderness and the wildlife that's around them in a safe environment. So we're getting really good responses from this stop for sure. All of our Explorer tours include a kennel tour, and I've spoken about this a little bit as well. Everybody gets to meet a musher, learn about the Iditarod sled dog race, which is that 1,049-mile race to Nome that happens the first Saturday of March of every year. They're going to learn what it's like to take care of 40 and 50 dogs. That's a strange, it's a great and wonderful person that wants to do that. And then, of course, everybody is going to get to have opportunities to have puppy time and hold those puppies. But don't worry, at the very end, everybody has a puppy pat down because nobody gets to take a puppy home when they are leaving. Now, as we started off, you saw that many of our tours start or go through Fairbanks, and I love Fairbanks. Fairbanks is called the Golden Heart City. It's right in the middle of Alaska. It is the land of the extremes. In the summertime, they have 24 hours of daylight and it gets up to 90 and 100 degrees. In the wintertime, they drop down to under 4 hours of daylight and they are at 30 to 50 below for days and weeks on end, depending on the season. So it is definitely a place that guests are going to learn about the tenacity of living in Alaska, especially in an area like Fairbanks. They're going to have an opportunity to see the pipeline on the tours that go through Fairbanks. They're going to be able to see the beautiful flowers because imagine 24 hours of daylight. Our flowers grow 3 days in every 24 hours, right? Because it never got dark. So they get huge and beautiful. We also include on all of our Explorer programs something that is unique to the destination. For Riverboat Discovery, you'll notice that we actually include this on the Fairbanks Express program, and that's kind of a little hidden gem. If you have guests that can only give you those couple of days and they need to be on Express, try to get them on the Fairbanks program because not only is it a really nice flow for the guests to travel on those shorter tours, but it also includes the Fairbanks Riverboat Discovery, which is going to be 75 years this year. They've been in operation, which is pretty amazing. They're going to learn about what it's like to live in Fairbanks, what it was like to start with the mining, the gold rush in the gold rush days, but then also have a chance to go through the Athabascan Native presentation and cultural center that they have there, replicated Athabascan Village. It's awesome for the guests to really just have 3 hours of time of not only sailing down the Chena River with the paddle wheeler, but also having time on land to talk to these young people that love to share their culture with our guests. Some of the other tours that go there include the Gold Dredge #8. This is a 2-hour experience where guests hop on this little train. They learn what it's like to try to mine for precious minerals in completely frozen ground year round. And then, of course, they learn how to pan for gold. They have their opportunities to try to strike it rich. And everyone learns the nice part about panning for gold at the Gold Dredge is that water is warm. They guests appreciate that because trying to take you to a stream and do that at 40-degree water, you don't last very long. All right. Our Denali Talkeetna Explorer program is one of our truly hidden gems, and I highly recommend you guys look at those programs when you have passengers going that are expressing an interest of coming to Alaska. And when you ask them, well, what are you trying to do? Well, I really want to try to see Denali. Well, by putting them on the Denali Talkeetna Explorer program, you double their chances because they will be able to be spending one night at the Talkeetna Alaskan Lodge. This picture I took just with my iPhone, not even a pro, off the deck of the Talkeetna Alaskan Lodge. If the mountain is out, she's beautiful. At 20,310 feet tall, she's big enough to make her own weather, and she does. And that means only 30% of the people that come to Alaska actually get to see the mountain. So we are always wanting to give those guests the most opportunity that they can. So doubling down if they stay in Talkeetna. If the mountain isn't out when they get there, they can ask the hotel for a wake-up call, and the people, the front desk will call them if the mountain is out. Guests go out to the back and out on the back deck, and it's absolutely stunning. So great opportunity for those guests that want to see that. We have a brand new program for 2026, and you're some of the first people I've told about this, and I'm very excited. It's called the Denali Seward Explorer Program. This program is fantastic because not only does it do a small dayboat cruise out to Ayalik Glacier, like you see here in the photos, it also overnights at the Hotel Alyeska. So for those of you that have been selling the Norwegian Cruise Tour product for a long time, I'm sure you're aware of the Denali Alyeska Explorer program that always sells out. That's the very first one that sells out because there's only one hotel. We don't have limited availability. So now the great news is you have not only the opportunity to sell this hotel with the Denali Alyeska, but also now with the new Denali Seward Explorer program. So hidden secret there for 26, if you got guests interested, that Denali Seward program is what you're going to want to focus on. All right, our two uniquely Norwegian programs are our Valdez and Homer Explorer programs. These programs go to the ends of our roads. So the Authentic Alaska goes to Homer. That's like our Key West of Alaska, the southernmost tip of Alaska that you can drive to. And the Denali Valdez program goes to the terminus of the Alaska pipeline, that 800-mile pipeline that runs from the very tip of our state in Prudhoe Bay all the way down to Valdez. Guests have the opportunity on both of these to really just kind of see a lot of the road less traveled for a lot of reasons. It's just a beautiful experience on both of these tours. So don't discount a 14-day program. You would be surprised how many people really want to spend or have that much time to spend on a holiday. All right, now really briefly, I'm going to talk about the Encore and Bliss because these programs have a great pre-program because they do round trip Seattle. So the way that these tours work for both of these ships is that guests start at home, they fly to Fairbanks, where they start their land tour. They then spend the time on land. They do the riverboat discovery when they are in Fairbanks, and then they go down to Denali. They do the Denali Natural History Tour, and then they come into Anchorage. They also ride the train, and it is the deluxe Dome Rail train that they ride as well. Now, what happens then is that if they are on a Bliss program, they spend one night in Anchorage, and then on the next morning, we transfer them to the airport where they're going to fly from Anchorage to Seattle. When they get to Seattle, there will be Norwegian representatives there to transfer them from the airport in Seattle to the ship, right? To the ship pier. All of that transfer from Anchorage, the flight, and Seattle transfer to the ship is all included in the ticket price when you purchase the land tour, add the cruise tour for the guests. So just that's the one little nuance to the Bliss and Encore. Encore, because it is a Sunday ship, they actually get to spend, the guests on the Encore spend one additional night in Anchorage. That means they have the entire day to explore the largest city in Alaska. And then they too are transferred by plane from Anchorage to Seattle to join the ship. Now, we do group air for that. So no, there is no upgrading seats to first class or anything like that. But I promise you, it's a 3.5 hour flight. And as of now, no one has died sitting in coach for just those 3.5 hours. So it'll be okay. And there's very popular tour. All right. Now, I want to talk about the hotels for a minute, but the main thing I want to remind you about is traveling widths. It is really important that you let us know when you have guests traveling together that might not be in a proper group booking. Now, if you have a proper group and a group number, that takes care of it. We know everybody is traveling together. But let's say we have the Smiths traveling and then they got their friends to join, but they didn't call in at the same to you. Maybe they called in to one of your other friends and they booked them. We have to somehow link them because if we don't link them together, every one of our tours has more than one coach that goes out on each tour. And if the guests are not put on the same motor coach, they will not see each other until they arrive to the ship or until we get them back to the airport if it's a post. So it's important that you make sure that those travel lists are listed in however you do that in your system. All right, now, one other thing about our hotels is that our hotels limit the amount of people in a room to a maximum of 4 people in a room. There are 2 beds and there is only 1 bathroom. And sometimes on the ship, if the guests are booked into suites that can accommodate more than 4 guests, if that is the case, they will be given one additional room on land. And this is all, you can find all this information in your help requests and that. But if your guests would like to have an additional room added to their land tour program, so by example, maybe on the ship there was a bedroom door that separated the 2 bedrooms, so it was 2 friends traveling, that was okay. Now it's going to be awkward because there's only a bedside table and a lamp splitting them up. If they want to add that additional room, they just give I had this for someone else. Thomas can tell us if this is, maybe you reach out to Thomas or maybe you call for the additional rooms, but we can always do that. It just takes one more step. So please make sure that guests realize and that you realize that when they're on land, they're going to have 2 beds maximum in the room. So if you have 3 people, 2 people are going to be sharing a bed. We don't have 3 bed options on land tour. If we have 4 people and maybe grandma doesn't want to sleep with the full, the adult grandchild, that's okay. She could get her own room. And the only thing that the passenger is paying for is the room, because remember, all of the other things have already been accounted for. So that's a really important thing to try to remember in all cruise tours. All right, express programs. Remember, if we have a chance, the Anchorage and LA Express program is a great stay. But if they have an opportunity, please try to get them on that Fairbanks and LA Express program because it does include that riverboat discovery. All of our Explorer programs include the Deluxe Dome Rail, include the Musher Visit, Hold Puppies, and that good stuff. And then our two uniquely Norwegian programs, of course, are our longer programs, and then our Bliss and Encore. Now, I would like to talk for just a minute, because I think I have just a few more minutes here, about the port in Whittier. Norwegian Cruise Line started going to the Whittier port this year consistently in 2025. Remember, I said that for cruise tours, we have it all timed out. Don't worry about it. Your guests just have to pick up their, go and, do their online check-in to grab their e-documents. But now for guests that are just doing cruise only, and I know you guys sell a lot of that as well, and that's great. Please note, this is not the time for your guests to try to wing it. Whittier is a very, very remote port. What you see on the right-hand side is a big mountain. It's a 2.5 mile tunnel that is shared by both cars and trains. It's a one-lane tunnel. That means passengers can come in on the half hour and they can depart on the hour. It's a very rhythmic kind of system that happens here. We are trying to get guests in and out of Whittier as quickly and as efficiently as possible. There's not a lot that is there for Whittier at the moment. It's a beautiful little community. I'm not saying that, but there are 273 people that live there. So we are trying to make it so our guests have a great experience as well. So please really consider having your guests purchase the transfer from the ship to the airport or airport to ship directly with Norwegian Cruise Line. Now, another thing to remember is that our pier in Whittier is not the pier that sits right in town. It is the pier that you see where the blue arrow is. It is about 3/4 to a mile away from town. So again, this is not the pier to try to wing it. Please, please, please try to get your guests to book those transfers with Norwegian Cruise Line directly. This is the entire community of Whittier, and on a pretty day, it is gorgeous as you see. But the vast majority of people that live in Whittier are living in that big building that you see right here, midway in your screen. And I encourage you to YouTube it, Whittier, Alaska, and you'll learn all about Whittier with that. So please, again, keep in mind, our dock is about a mile from town. It's important that guests have the opportunity to get the right experience when they are embarking or disembarking. And a lot of that starts with just having the right transfer. Now, speaking of transfers, remember, we can't offer this on the cruise tours, but for cruise line guests only, they can do the transfer via the cruise train. This is a chartered train for Norwegian Cruise Line, and this train is going from Whittier to Anchorage or Whittier back or Anchorage back to Whittier. It's a great opportunity for the guests to be able to sit down, enjoy that last little bit of holiday if they're disembarking, or to start their holiday in a really nice little just meandering fashion getting to the ship. So cruise trains are available for cruise only guests and they're booked as a transfer, and you can find that. And that concludes what I have to say. But I think Thomas has something to speak to you about this lovely slide.
Thank you, Karlyn. That wonderful presentation. And I forgot to mention earlier, guys. So Karlyn, the Premier Alaska service over 28,000 guests every year during the Alaska season. So they know what they're doing, and your guests will have a great time. I just want to give you guys an offer I know this week is Norwegian Cruise Line Week, Supplier of the Week, but I also want to give you guys an offer from today to the end of the month, July 31st. If you book an NCL Alaska cruise with cruise tours, you will get the below perks. So I will add an additional specialty dining for each guest, a bottle of wine per cabin, and chocolate covered strawberries. You just have to send me the reservation at tchang@ncl.com, and I'll manually add it. And also, after this presentation, I will blast out an email with the Alaska Cruise Tour cheat sheet, so you guys can have that, and you're able to see the Alaska Cruise Tour brochures that we have, so you have more information on hand. This is a really great product, and it's just one of those things where people only sell the cruise, and we need your help to explain to them what they could actually see when they go into Alaska. The land portion is totally different than what they would experience via the cruise portion. And if they're going there for a cruise of a lifetime, you might as well kill two birds with one stone and go to Denali National Park. I've been to Talkeetna. The Alyeska Hotel is excellent. So this is definitely one of those things where we need your help to tell your clients about. We also have ongoing promotions with Archer Travel and Travel Leaders Network. I'm going to post those for additional onboard credit per cabin. And those are applicable for Alaska cruises. So I'm gonna also have that in the email so you can see it. But other than that, I'm here to help you to answer any questions. And if the questions get too tough, I will ask Karlyn, and she'll jump in via email. But Amanda, do we have any official questions
Yes.
in the chat?
Yeah, we do. The first question is, what sets Premier Alaska apart from other tour operators that are offering similar experiences?
We've been doing this for 30 years. We're celebrating our 30th season. And, I think it has a lot to do with the people. We are as local as we can possibly be. We are a larger company now. We're the third largest in Alaska. But we just have a way of making sure that the guests feel like they are the number one priority. Our local guides really and our drivers really make the difference. They are with the guests, and there's just nothing like that experience.
So and Karlyn is a little bit too kind, so I'm gonna put it this way. So with Premier Alaska, the drivers and the tour guide will stay with the client the whole tours. If they go with another cruise line brand where they own their own property, the guides and drivers switch between each destinations, right? So if the client has special needs, they have to relearn the tour guide's name, they have to relearn the driver's name between each stop. But with Norwegian Cruise Line and Premier Alaska, the whole cruise is the same guide, the same bus driver, the same bus. And the hotels are in the city, right? It's not a property that was built in the middle of nowhere and then they have to take a bus 30 minutes to get into town. Our cruise tours would actually have the hotels inside the city.
Perfect, thank you. Next question is, if I get off an NCL ship and do a cruise shore, could I get on another NCL ship and do another cruise?
Back to back.
Karlyn, that's a great question. So it's a cruise tour between two cruises.
So it would depend on, yes, because Norwegian comes every other Monday. So what you would do is you'd have to figure out, you might have an extra day in Anchorage waiting to go to the ship, but I'm sure you could work it out.
Perfect. Go ahead, Thomas.
I was about to say, yeah, that travel advisors, time you can step into the planning mode and have clients, do one extra stay in Anchorage and do some city tours if they want to do a back-to-back with a cruise tour in between.
Perfect. Thank you. And also, that's just extra commission. You can book 2 cruises. You can get the cruise tour. You can also get the hotel as well. So commission everywhere, and might as well. Next question is, do you provide cruise tours for people with special needs, as well as does NCL provide any special activities for children on board that also have special needs?
Karlyn, do you want to do the land portion?
I can speak to the land portion. All of our tours are ADA accessible. And we do offer, we accommodate where necessary. So yeah. Cruise tours are
go ahead.
All up to you.
And for Norwegian also, while on the cruise, and I'll highly recommend anyone with clients with ADA needs to actually follow. We have a on the cruise contract, we do ask people to reach out to us if clients have ADA, and regardless of which cruise line you work with, you really need to go to each cruise line's ADA form department. So like for Norwegian, there is a form where you fill out your clients' needs, so we can prepare in advance for the clients to so we can accommodate the clients. So we do have programs for special needs child and special needs passengers. But of course, everyone's requirements a little bit different. So as soon as the clients put down that refundable deposit, fill out the form, and so both Karlyn and Norwegian, we know what the clients will need in every setting.
Perfect.
If I can just add a little bit to that, while all of our tours are ADA accessible, I find for guests that have mobility issues, sometimes putting them on the cruise tours that like Denali by Rail program actually has 2 segments of train, and it is the Deluxe Dome Rail, but we have a wheelchair lift in the train car up to the platform, and then we also have an elevator in the train cars. So it makes it kind of nice for guests that have mobility issues, because then they can get up and down throughout the day, versus when on a motor coach, we have the wheelchair lift, but they have to stay in that seat until the coach is completely stopped at a stop, not to do anything. So washrooms are more readily available, things like that, when they book that Denali by Rail train program.
Great insights, Karlyn.
Perfect. There's a comment and then a question here. I'm a little bit confused. Can you clarify, would I book Premier Alaska through NCL, or do I book these separately?
So Thomas is very generous in telling you who I am. Usually I'm like the mass singer, and no one knows really who I work for, and that's totally okay. So you can just pretend he never said those PAT, Premier Alaska Tours. You book everything with Norwegian Cruise Line.
Perfect. Thank you for clarifying that. Next question is, I watched yesterday and know how to find NCL marketing tools, but are there marketing tools for the tours as well?
We do. So yeah, and it's also on the same site. So in marketing headquarter, we actually have a drop down. If they go to destinations and Alaska, they will find the Alaska cruise tour information. So I'm going to add so after this call I mentioned, I will have the cheat sheet in the email blast. Let me find a consumer facing one for you also. You can actually also order the consumer brochures to have it delivered to your house for free. So we have that also. So I will have those instructions on the email, and so you have a better idea what you can order. But guys, you can order brochures through Norwegian for free to be delivered to your house.
And I just want to piggyback on that if you can get that 2025, and there will be a 2026 at some point, cruise tour brochure that was featured at the very beginning, you have every itinerary that you need. That is exactly what your guests will pick up with their e-documents. Short, it will not show the hotels until 30 days prior. Because we use many hotels. We don't just have one hotel, like Thomas referenced about those brands that own their own hotels. Norwegian has the ability to go to many hotels, which means that we don't have as many sold out dates because we can move people around.
Perfect. If I book NCL and the tour together and I get insurance for my client, is it covered for both?
Yes. Yes. So, if you're getting, sorry, the question is it third party insurance or Norwegian insurance?
I think they're talking about. It sort of seems the way they worded it. They're talking about insurance through NCL.
Yeah. So insurance through NCL, it will cover. This is part of the whole package. But since we're talking about this, when the clients are buying third party insurance, be sure the duration of the insurance policy is it covers across the whole travel and not just the cruise. But that's a great question.
Perfect. In comparison to NCL, how do the tours land? Are they luxurious? Are they comfort? what type of style would you say they are?
Do you want to start first, Karlyn?
Yes,
Go
I
ahead.
do. So I was born and raised in Anchorage, Alaska, and I can tell you right now that anything that you're wearing, even if you don't even have your camera on, you are well dressed for Alaska. We do not have a lot of fancy, but what we do have is six-star scenery. So guests, the experience that guests are getting, especially on any of the cruise tours, is very much realistic and a wonderful adventure into Alaska and the wilderness of Alaska. We don't have a lot of stops in between our cities because we are just that vast. And so guests are usually really taken aback by just the vastness and the beauty of Alaska. Our hotels and our are good. They're clean. They're nice. They're great. But there are no 5 or 6 star resorts that you're going to see in Santorini or in on a Mexican Riviera cruise kind of thing, or all inclusive. So keep that in mind. We're modest in our hotels, but we are great in our service and our experiences.
And guys, I've done the cruise before. The service is great. The hotel, Alaska is 5 star, right, Karlyn? Or is
It's
that?
not.
Oh,
It's not because none of our hotels in Alaska actually offer 24-hour room service, and that is one of the distinctions of a 5 star hotel. So it's nice and it's lovely. The Hotel Alyeska is our nicest hotel, but what I like to remind you is that you can look at that program and say, "Oh, that's the only thing I'm going to sell," but it sells out. So you're going to limit your guests. But now with that Denali Seward program, you have another opportunity to sell that one night stay. But it's really important that guests understand that when they are on the cruise, they're going to have beautiful staterooms, beautiful suites, things like that. When they come on land, you need to lower that expectation a bit, and then they're pleasantly surprised. If you try to tell them that, oh, you're in the captain's suite and you're going to have that the whole way through on a land tour, you're going to have some issues because the hotels are just are not set up nor can accommodate that level of service like the ship can.
thank you, Karlyn. So I guess this is one of those things where people talk about people talk about how awesome glamping is, but at the end of the day, you are still in the wilderness enjoying nature. So they have to take into account that there are certain aspects that might be a little bit different than what they would usually experience. But that's a great question.
Yeah, and I would also just add, I think probably the bottle of wine and chocolate covered strawberries got them. And so I would just also like to add, like, any type of adventure travel, like when you're doing wilderness or anything, you know that you're probably going to be getting out and the sun's going to be hitting you, the wind's going to be hitting you, the grass smells. So it's a little more adventure travel, would you say Alaska is?
Definitely. Definitely.
Perfect.
But
Okay.
we've made it very, very accessible.
I love that. And especially to have ADA accessibility in Alaska is really, really great. Well, that's the last question we have for today. So, if you guys have any more questions, feel free to reach out to us at Archer Travel or feel free to reach out to Thomas at NCL or check out the FAQ pages we have as well that you can find on the NCL TA portal or give us a call. We're here to help you guys succeed and be successful and give your clients the trip of a lifetime. Thomas, Karlyn, thank you so much for joining us. And is there anything else that either of you would like to add before we close this session out?
That's it for me. But thank you everybody for joining, and thank you, Karlyn, for helping out and presenting Alaska. You do it so much better than I can. So really appreciate it. And Amanda, thank you for facilitating the questions and the presentation.
Well,
Thank you for having me.
thank you so much. And I hope you guys have a wonderful day and happy Wednesday. Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you.